let's get into the real reason you're here. I mean, it's not just a chat with me and talk about Jason Groman and all the great people there at KCRW, but you are here because you are doing a school night, and you're doing two school nights. This is a KCRW virtual event that
It's actually not. It's not KCRW, but it's funny because I think people. It's like because it's my thing. Yeah. It's almost synonymous with KCRW in a way because I've been there for so long. You know, I've been part of that. I've been at KCRW for 30 years, which is hard to believe. But KCRW is the springboard that launched School Night in a way because when I started doing a weekend show, I'd been doing Morning Becomes Eclectic forever, but I didn't. Once I was on the weekends, I didn't really have a platform to bring artists in for a live performance thing. And I got invited to DJ at a club 10 years ago. I had worked on this movie, and we had our wrap party for this movie at a place called Bordeaux in Hollywood. And I'm at this venue for the first time in this beautiful, like, Art Deco facility. It looks like some, I don't know, goth living room. And I thought, God, this is so beautiful. And the owner's taking me on a tour, and he goes, you should come down here and DJ sometime. I'm like, I'm terrified of DJing events because in a radio situation, as you know, you're just by yourself in a room. But to be in front of a bunch of people and have to make them dance, that's terrifying to me. So, of course, I said yes. And as we got closer to this first event that I was going to DJ, I had to come up with a name, and I was telling my friends I'm going to be DJing this place. And they go, Monday night? I can't do that. It's a school night. I'm like, school night. Let's call it school night. And the manager of the venue, he's like, I know you're apprehensive about DJing by yourself. Why don't you have a band or two come in and play after you? And then it's about them and not about you. And I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. So the first event we did, it was just going to be one night. And I had a band called The Like come in, and Dawes came in, and they played the first school night. And we decided to do a month. And the second one, Chrissy Hine of the Pretenders played. And we had a line 4 blocks long, and we just kept going, Albert. So it just became, it's always been my thing, not a KCRW event, but it's a place where the artists that I'm excited about from a radio show that I'm playing on the radio, I try to bring to the stage at school night.
What a great platform to have and to do. And right now, it's crazy because you're doing this virtually. And I know a lot of bands are very apprehensive about it, but I feel that there's a new wave of people accepting the virtuosity, if you will, of the stage. And for me, I like this because I love going to shows, but I don't like being around people. I get very, I get anxiety, when there's a lot of people. And
it can get really crowded and uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, not to switch topics or anything, but when you guys used to do your when KCRW, I believe, did things at the Annenberg Space for photography, I mean, I'm talking massive crowds would show up. And to be fair, that's great. That's great, because you guys really know how to throw a party and bring people in. I would be on the outside, you know what I mean? I would go, but I'd be like at the very far end, just kind of watching the masses, and that was a very, very cool venue, the Annenberg Space.
Bobby played that, I remember, and I don't know who you saw there, but I think it was like, I want to say Father John Misty and like some amazing events there.
Yeah, it's, man. But again, you're doing an amazing event with this virtual school night happening Monday and Wednesday
at 5 p.m. Pacific.
Right. Yeah. On twitch.tv/it's a school night. I will have all the links on the show notes, or if anybody wants to see, just check out the bio, and you'll be able to go there Monday and Wednesday night. This is absolutely free, I want to say.
Totally free. And if you want, I can tell you how it came to be, because it's kind of crazy. You know, as I told you how School Night began, as we started to do our second, third, fourth, fifth school nights some 10 years ago, we ended up winning an award from Paper Magazine. 3 months into the beginning of School Night, we won Paper Magazine's America's Best Party Award. Who knew there was even such an award? But they gave it to us, and we're like, wait, what? And then, because it was a New York magazine, these venues in New York started to invite us to do School Night in New York. And within 6 months of our existence, we were doing School Night at the Bowery Hotel in Manhattan. And then a few years later, we moved it to the Brooklyn Bowl and Baby's All Right. So we were this New York, LA thing. And we won the hearts and minds of the industry, the booking agents, the publishers, the labels, the artists' camps, you know. And it became this kind of go-to thing, right, as you know. And so many artists debuted there over the years. The biggest booking agent that was supportive of us, and the first booking agent that was supportive of us, was Tom Windish. And Tom has always believed in School Night as a developing platform for artists that we know and love today. Lizzo, Billie Eilish, Dua Lipa, all these amazing talents. So when the shutdown happened, Tom says, he calls me, he says, man, we got to do something. My bands want to play. Let's do School Night online. You know, he wasn't part of School Night. He was just a supporter. He's like, let's do it together. I'm like, okay. And I dragged my feet for like 2 days to think about it. 2 days later, he's like, man, let's do this. If you don't do it, I'm going to do it myself. So we decided to do it together and we wanted to call it School Night at Home. And we launched our first season last August, and we did 14 episodes. And Twitch got excited about it. And they approached us to do a second season, and they said they would support us, and here we are. So we're launching the new season 2, on Monday. Yeah, Monday the 5th.
That must be so exciting for something to just kind of fall into your lap like this. You know what I mean?
So organic.
Yeah. It makes life, just so fun and exciting and something to look forward to. I think right now, as things are starting to open up, you know, people are getting a little over, like they already want to run into a concert venue. You know what I mean? We're almost at that cusp where people can actually get in there. Do you foresee this, turning into coming back full circle at venues?
Very good question. We are definitely going to have School Night in real venues again. Whether we're still at Bardot, that's to be determined, but we've already been invited by a few different venues here in Hollywood. And we would continue in Toronto, because we launched Toronto a year and a half ago at the Drake Underground there. So we're definitely going to come back to venues. But we think that School Night at Home is going to continue because, as you said, there's an audience that wants to see this from home. There's an audience that might be in a small town somewhere that doesn't have the access to New York or Hollywood or Toronto. And the other thing that's amazing about homeschool that we didn't foresee, if we get excited about a band, one of these bands that's on the show on Monday, Mama's Gun, this UK band that Anthony Valadez turned me on to, we would have had to wait for them to get visas, to be in LA, to have a Monday night off, to not have any, issues with another show they might be doing somewhere across town, or maybe they're playing Coachella and there's a radius clause, and when they're in LA they can't do a gig like School Night. All these hoops they had to jump through to get on School Night before are gone. We can book any artist from anywhere in the world, no complaints.
That is one of the best uses of the internet. I have to say, it's like Like finally, my hopes and dreams are coming to reality. And
introverts unite.
Right? Introverts unite with your laptops. You know what I mean? We should make sure we're all on the same IP. You know what I mean? Type thing.
I love it.
Yeah. Let's talk really quick about the first night's lineup. It's very stacked. You have King's Elliot, Chemist, Mind Chatter, as you said before, Mama's Gun, and was it Bevan?
Bevan. Yeah, he's going to be our host. Bevan is this just upstart pop talent. I don't know how to describe him. He's from the south coast of England. Brighton is where he went to school, and he lives in Southampton. He's half Japanese, but he's got this knack for a pop melody, and he does it in a really kind of cool Elderbrook kind of way. Like there's a dance element to it. But he's going to be our host. So he's a deep kid musically. He's the real deal, and he's going to take us through these artists. He's basically going to be, what was that? Was that me? Was that you?
I think a bunch of listeners just fainted over him. You know what I mean?
I think it was my cat knocking something over in the kitchen. But so he's going to take us through the artists. King's Elliot, I'm really excited about. She's the very first artist that's going to be on the show on Monday, the new season, and it's her worldwide live performance debut. She's never performed anywhere else in the world, so I'm excited about her. I don't know if you've seen the video that she posted online a little over a month ago. She put out a song called "I'm Getting Tired of Me." It's like the ultimate pandemic song. And she was shooting a video for it, and she just couldn't get herself together. And she sat down on the floor and had a panic attack, and the camera was rolling on her. She's just like, let the camera roll. And she had her freaking panic attack on camera.
Wow.
And that became the video to the song. I would pull it up on YouTube if I could right now and show you, but it's remarkable. And that's what made me fall in love with her. Her vulnerability and her honesty and just her voice on top of all of that. She's a tremendous songwriter. And so she's going to bring that vulnerability and bring that voice to the first session of School Night.
Cool. I'm very excited about that. Why did you, if it's the first session, why did you add the Wednesday session? Just out of curiosity.
Twitch wanted us to do it twice. Our first season was once a week, and Twitch is like, we think you can build an audience faster if you do it twice a week. And we're like, really? That's 8 bands a week. Are you sure? And they're like, bring it on. I think the way the Twitch audience works, it's a lot of gamers, a lot of people who spend inordinate amounts of time on Twitch, and they think that the more the show is on the channel and on the air, the more it's going to catch and build a following and ignite into a real happening. So
that's cool. Very cool. Very excited for School Night happening twice a week. And this is for one season. How long is the season? So you're going to be doing this for, I'm assuming, 3 months. I want to say 6 months is the season. Wow. Okay, man. A lot of your time must be curating these artists right now. Do you have time for other things? This is a big commitment.
It's actually, you'll understand this. I have a radio show, right? I have the School Night series, but I also do a lot of movie soundtracks. I'm doing a lot of music supervision. And my job is all the same damn thing, Albert. I get up in the morning looking for a piece of music that's going to excite me. And invariably I end up finding them day after day, things I've never heard before that I'm excited about. And I push these things that I'm excited about into these projects. Okay, I'm going to play this on my radio show this weekend. Let's see if they're available to play School Night. oh my God, they're perfect for this scene in this movie I'm working on. So it's the same job. It's just one more platform to push these things into.
You definitely created synergy into your life. And that is, I mean, I think that's what we all want to do for our own lives, is to create that synergy, that everything just works well together. Wanted to talk to you real briefly. There's a lot of changes happening at KCRW, and obviously one of them is, you guys have changed into a brand new environment, brand new studios, and I'm not sure if this was off the air or on the air, but I actually went to KCRW in Santa Monica right before you guys made that move, so I was able to be in the Morning Becomes Eclectic studio. And
in the old digs, in the basement.
In there, and man,
musty, smelled like mustiness, and
it smelled like true radio. It smelled like rock and roll, man. I was like, man,
was there a water leak here recently?
But like I'm in there and I'm just like, man, I've seen Conor Oberst, live in here. I've seen Radiohead and all these other, and it was just like, whoa, to leave that environment. And to move to a new studio,
it was heartbreaking.
Right?
It was heartbreaking. It so many memories, so many beautiful things about that, basement studio under the cafeteria, where nobody even knew we were there. The students didn't know we were there. I remember having Lou Reed on the show. He came in a couple times, 2 or 3 times, and I was walking him to his car. After one set that he did on Morning Becomes Eclectic, and Lou was all like leathered up, leather jacket, and looked like Lou Reed, and we're walking across campus to his car, and 2 students walked by, and I hear one say to the other, oh geez, this guy thinks he's Lou Reed.
Oh, that's amazing.
Lou and I just laughed. We didn't say anything to that guy.
Oh, that's brilliant. That is brilliant.
My God. So there was a lot of really fun things about that, very unassuming space that we had. You saw it. I mean, there was nothing fancy about it. All the money went into the programming. But when we left there, I remember going through there as like a final goodbye when, the shelves were bare and, there were, just grayed out spaces on the wall where photos had been hanging for years, and it was just like saying goodbye to an old friend, in a way. It was a whole new chapter. But there was also that mixed emotion of what could be with this new facility,
Definitely. Yeah. And how are you enjoying the new facility? I'm sure it doesn't have the same smells and flavors and tastes as the old one.
That's put very nicely. No, it does have a sheen to it, a brand newness, and a monstrosity about it. But we're not fighting each other over studio time. We're not elbowing each other out of the rooms because we got deadlines. So there's more studios for us to, you never find yourself without a studio. That's a good thing. But we didn't really get a chance to, live in it yet, because we were there for like, I don't know, what was it, maybe a year, 9 months, a year. And then we got kicked out for the pandemic, and, we're only letting a few people in at a time now. But the astonishing thing about all of us being in that big building for all of us was, because previously we were in different buildings because we had not enough space in any one building. We were spread out. So we were seeing coworkers that we'd never met before, that we've been working with. They'd been on our extension list, but we never really saw them until we were on the same damn building. We're like, okay, now you're who? So we were all in the same building for the first time ever.
Man, that must be a great story that you're going to be telling, I'm sure, them. Like, this is the first time I met you.
It's true.
Yeah.
How long have you been working here? I've been working here 15 years, and we just met.
But that's radio sometimes, you know what I mean?
It is. That's right.
Yeah.
You might know their voice, but you actually haven't been in the same room.
Yeah. one of the last things that we'll talk, and thank you for your time and coming on.
That you reached out, man.
Yeah, when I got the email about this and I saw your name, I couldn't believe it. I was like, they're like, you can interview any of the bands that you want. I'm like, I want Chris. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, just to pick at his brain and to be able to actually just talk shop with you. What was the true excitement that I had. So thank you for that, and thank you for being so accommodating with me.
Of course.
Yeah, but one of the last things, as we're talking a little bit about KCRW, is the departure of Garth Trinidad. So many nights, in one of my previous jobs, I was working at a cafe, and I would have to close the cafe, clean it, put it back. You know what I mean? And at night, he was my soundtrack guy. You know what I mean? He was always, playing, and that's what I would clean the cafe to. And so for when I saw that he left, and of course he didn't leave on bad terms or anything like that.
No.
But I was just like, man, a part of me is gone. And I know that sounds weird from a listener perspective, and it must be different from your perspective because you guys have all grown up together and seen each other, through thick and thin. Tell me about that experience with Garth, if you don't mind.
Not at all, and I really appreciate what you just said. I think we all have a very unique relationship with people that we listen to on the radio. It's different than even watching like a television show. I remember like when Jon Stewart left The Daily Show or whatever, there's these momentous things. If you're a fan of a show or something, you feel like a part of you is dying or something. But radio's different because it's so intimate. It's so in your head and in your personal space in a way. You could be in a car with 5 people, and if the radio's on, there might be a conversation in the front seat between 2 people, but there's somebody in the back leaning against the window, looking out the window, listening to the radio, and tapping into that host, and feeling like this one-on-one relationship, It may not be overt, but it's a subtle thing that, companionship that comes. And so I get that. I'm a radio listener too, And so there's this attachment that you almost don't even recognize that you are having. And when it's gone, you're like, but it's changed. So I understand that. And, Garth is just one of those warm presences that has been with us at the station. Everybody called him Uncle Garth. It's not like he was older than anybody else. He was kind of the baby. But he just had this calming sense about him that he brought to the family. And I remember when he first came in, he was, he had done, I didn't know this till later, but he had done a book report, I think, or he wrote a paper about KCRW, and he came in and interviewed Jason. That was his first contact with KCRW, but then later he became a volunteer, and that's how I knew him, because he volunteered for Liza, and he came up with Liza as her volunteer. And I remember her telling me, I was the music director at the time, that he wanted to start a show, and he came to me and he brought me a demo tape, and it was fabulous. He's got that voice. And, I said, well, tell me about the show, the concept. And he went away and he came back and he's like, I've got some names, some ideas for names. And he unscrolled this piece of paper. And, we were talking about kinds of artists he would play. And I was like, KCRW needs this. It's like, we need that eclectic window from his perspective, as a man of color and what he grew up listening to. And it's like, this sounds freaking awesome. And I'm looking at the list of names that he had. I don't remember any of them, but I'm scanning the list and only one I remember. And I was like, that's it. And he's like, Chocolate City. Yeah. And that became his show, as you know, Chocolate City. And, we've since shed those names of our shows, but I always think of Garth and his show as Chocolate City.
That's lovely sentiment, very touching. Creating a name for a show is one of the hardest things.
And the funnest.
Yeah. Like, I went to a show generator. I couldn't think of a name for this particular show. So, I put it in a name generator, and then, like, there was a bunch of different names, but What the Music is the one that kind of stood out. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do What the Music. You know what I mean? I think it's a fun name. And, there's so many times where I'm listening to the radio and I'm just like, What the Music is this song? You know what I mean? Or just, so.
No, I think it's really clever because it catches you like, wait, what? And then you're like, but you get it.
Yeah.
It's really cool because it's surprising, but it's also says what it is in a way. It's a sideways way of saying it, which is cool.
Exactly. And so I don't, that just came into my mind when you were telling that story of Chocolate City. But lastly, let's talk about night 2, which is Wednesday, okay? And it's 5:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on twitch.tv/It's a School Night twice a week.
Good job.
It's like I have notes. It's crazy. But 2 nights, and the second night is probably the most eclectic, I want to say, out of these nights. Tell me about your decision for these particular artists for the second night.
That's a really good question because we just want every night to be unpredictable. My background, I have a short attention span. So if we have a band that sounds like one thing, the last thing I want is the next band to sound like the same thing, So, it's really more about putting together, okay, we're over here. Next we're going to go here. Let's do this now, and then let's come down here. So I'd say that about the first night too. You got Kings, this contemplative, beautiful, female, soulful singer. You got Chemist, who's this, thoughtful, powerful poet out of Philadelphia, who's talking about, issues of him coming up as a black man. You've got Mama's Gun, who's this like throwback 70s soul lover of Erykah Badu and that whole thing out of the UK perspective. And then you've got Mind Chatter, who's this EDM brainy, DJ producer madman out of New York City. So it's the same thing on the second night, with Via and Buzzard out of Wales and, all these. So it's really not just the second night, but it'll be the third and the fourth and the fifth, like the same idea where it's like, let's not make anything too close to the other. Keep people guessing. Like, wait, damn, there's a polka band too?
Which,
and
by
Bevan,
the way, there should be.
Yeah, and our host, Bevan, is, we could have picked a host from Los Angeles who could have just walked down to our studio, but we like that he's from England and just gives another dimension to the proceedings,
Yeah. I'm absolutely looking forward to School Night 1 and School Night 2, Monday, Wednesday. Make sure to check it out, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Twitch. Twitch.tv/It's a School Night. Go check it out. And it's going to be on for 6 months. Yeah, you can go there. Sorry. No, and it's going to be on there for 6 months. And if I go there right now, what will I see?
Yeah, you go there right now. You can hit subscribe, and it'll notify you. It'll remind you so you don't forget. So I would say go there now. Just click on subscribe, and they'll notify you when it's going to start. They'll give you a heads up. The other thing I'll say about it is that I'm going to do a pre-show DJ set. So like 15 minutes before I'm DJing. And then at the very end, we're going to do a little after party on Zoom, and I'll be DJing after as well. So I'll bookend it with my DJ sets. And then one last thing I'll say about it is it's our first one, so we'll probably be screwing up a lot.
I can't wait.
So come see the mistakes. Come see us fall on our face.
I have a saying, and this saying was taught to me when I was in the Marine Corps, and it was somebody has to be first through the door. You know what I mean? So, I totally am always in for the first of something, because I'm like, this is going to be interesting. You know what I mean?
And it'd be boring.
Yeah, but you never know. You never know, which is why we tune in for that reality that hits when you're watching something live and something streaming. My guest has been Chris Douridas. Again, I am completely overwhelmed and humbled by having you on. You are living my life. I think you switched out my life for yours, and to be able to just curate and play music, and for it to just have a synergy in you is truly a gift. And what do you have for any advice that, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at, that you have for somebody that wants to become you? Is it still your identity? Is it what do we got to do?
I mean, I never thought that there was such a job available to a person. It all, as we said earlier, was an organic kind of thing, but I think what I would say is it just grew out of me following my passion, following my passion, and that passion led to, one thing and then another and another. And I think it's maybe, if anything, a testimony to just like following your gut, doing your homework, following your heart, and don't worry about the money. I mean, I was young when I started, so I wasn't making money, and I didn't care about the money. I was making nothing at KCRW when I first started there, but I didn't want to be anywhere else, I was ready to sweep floors there, so follow your passion, and the money comes eventually,
Absolutely. It's almost like when you decide to go into radio or into music, you have to take a vow of poverty, in a way, and but it'll all come back to you. I totally get that.
And if it's not monetary, it's going to be in good vibes. I feel like, it's a full circle. What we talked about at the beginning of this, you feel after everything, you're making a difference in people's lives.
Very cool, and what a great way to leave off on. Again, school night starts Monday, and it's also a Wednesday, which are true school nights, and school is coming back. So what a great time for you to stay at home and watch this. There's like nothing on TV anyway, so this is a way to just get that itch of music coming out. So again, I'll have all the links on the show notes, but twitch.tv/It's a School Night. Hit that subscribe button, as I am, and just welcome music into your heart. My guest has been Chris Douridas, and thank you.
Albert, thank you, man. We'll see you down the road.